Hi there. Today I want to talk about one of the most evil individuals in all of Star Wars. Someone who is so evil that he does not even register as someone who is possibly corrupted or has light in them. No. Talk about pure evil here. And that person is Sheev Palpatine. Because let's be honest, he is 100% pure evil. He really is. So today I really want to talk about him and talk about how Lord Palpatine is probably one of the most corrupted and one of the most evil individuals in the entirety of Star Wars. Now, the best place to start is from the beginning. Sheev Palpatine was born on the planet of Naboo. Essentially, the planet of Naboo was known for a couple of things, mostly the plasma that inhabited the planet, which they made massive amounts of money off of through trade and through the Trade Federation. These individuals then used that money, those resources, and the amount of influence that they gained through the trade of plasma and became one of the most well-known and one of the most beautiful worlds in the entirety of the Republic, especially for being a mid-rim planet. And of course, another thing that Naboo truly aspired in was their senators and their reign for peace, especially Padme Amidala, Sabe, who was also Keira Knightley, also being one of her very first major motion picture movie roles. But the individual who was most influential in the entirety of Naboo was actually, in fact, Sheev Palpatine. Sheev was born to a lovely little family called the Palpatines, who were one of the most influential individuals in the entirety of the planet. Long story short, he kind of murders every single person in his family. And if you want to learn more about how Palpatine killed his entire family, I recommend the novel Darth Plagueis. It's really fucking good. But Palpatine himself was extremely influential throughout the entirety of the Senate. He was known as one of the most hospitable and one of the most interactive, social, and probably one of the most charismatic senators in the entirety of the Republic. Anybody could have a literal conversation with him, and they could hear both sides of an argument. Nobody hated Palpatine. Everybody respected Palpatine, which set up a massive fucking red flag considering the fact that this man was a Sith Lord. In his youth, Palpatine actually met a very influential individual named Higo Damask, who was actually a Sith Lord by the name of Darth Plagueis. The two of them actually had to begin conversation in the Force, and after sensing the Force potential in Palpatine, Damask actually told little Palpatine that he was actually a Sith Lord and that he could show him the ways of the dark side of the Force. Palpatine immediately saw this as an opportunity to become more powerful and decided to murder his entire family lineage and basically got away with it because nobody suspected the young Palpatine of being able to murder his entire family. Over the course of multiple years while serving as a Sith Lord, Palpatine, as senator, manipulated a lot of people, convinced a lot of people to do a lot of shady things, and managed to not only become one of the most influential senators of all time, but also managed to become the Supreme Chancellor. During 32 BBY, during the invasion of Naboo, he managed to manipulate a young and very stressed out and extremely desperate Padme Amidala into voting no confidence against Chancellor Valorum because of his inability to do anything about the invasion of Naboo and wanting to stall for the Trade Federation so they would have more time to prepare an argument on whether or not this operation was legal or not. Of course, Padme Amidala, desperate to save her people, immediately votes no confidence, and then Supreme Chancellor Valorum is replaced with Palpatine. Palpatine immediately is so gleeful about this. Him and his master have their own little private ceremony in which he gets so drunk that Palpatine literally kills his own master in his sleep, while his other apprentice, Darth Maul, literally dies by the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi before, being magically resurrected by the powers of Dave Filoni and his influential cowboy hat. In the course of the next 10 years, Palpatine manipulates the entirety of the galaxy into starting a new war called the Clone Wars. Effectively, what happens is that Palpatine manipulates a Jedi named Count Dooku into working for him so they could stop the corruption of the Republic and so they could actually save the lives of millions of individuals across the galaxy by keeping them away from the clutches and the bureaucracy of the Republic and actually having them serve themselves instead of waiting for the Republic to come to them, since they were all the way out in the Outer Rim where the Republic didn't really care to go. This is effectively where Palpatine's plan comes into play. He needs Padme Amidala to be out of the picture so she does not interfere with his plans to create an army for the Republic, but he still needs her around to be an individual to speak up against the war, because it would be really weird if the only person who kept him from being in an open conflict against the independent systems would be someone who was immediately assassinated. I don't know. That's what Boeing just did. So he needs her out of the way so he can have a more manipulative individual to force into giving him emergency powers to create an army for the Republic so he can fight against the Confederacy of Independent Systems, gain even more power as the Supreme Chancellor, and effectively start the Clone Wars, while also being on the side of the Confederacy of Independent Systems, since he is aligned with Count Dooku, who is his Sith apprentice. Now, during this time, while Palpatine is participating both as the leader of the Confederacy of Independent Systems and as the leader of the Galactic Republic, he is slowly manipulating Anakin Skywalker into becoming his next apprentice. He tells him how great of a Jedi he is, how amazing of a combatant he is, how amazing of a general he is, and how the Jedi Order doesn't really trust him because they would already have made a massacre of him after everything that he's already done for the Republic. Over the course of the next 3 years, Palpatine slowly manipulates Anakin into thinking that he deserves to be more than what he already is, causing Anakin to slowly think of Palpatine as more of a father figure, which causes Anakin and Palpatine's relationship to boil over into more of a father and son kind of relationship, until Palpatine finally reveals to Anakin that he is a Sith Lord and manipulates him into becoming Darth Vader. So over the course of these several years, Palpatine is responsible for not only manipulating just about everybody in the galaxy into believing that he is a true leader, but he also manipulates a key finite amount of people. He manipulates Darth Maul, who was a literal child, into becoming his apprentice, trains him to the most nth degree into becoming an assassin, to the point where he murders just about everybody that he wants to, just for the thrill of it. He manipulates Padme Amidala into voting no confidence against Chancellor Valorum, which ultimately leads to Valorum being stepping down as Chancellor and eventually being assassinated by Palpatine. He manipulates Count Dooku into betraying the Jedi Order. Not just betraying the Jedi Order, but killing Waddle, and effectively starting the Clone Wars before it even began. And finally, Anakin Skywalker, who he had a weird kind of father-son relationship throughout the entirety of Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, throughout the entirety of Episode 3, to the point where Palpatine had so much of Anakin's trust that even as a Sith Lord, Palpatine was trusted by him to the point where he actively betrayed the Jedi Order that he swore his life to. So ultimately, by the end of the Clone Wars, Palpatine had been personally responsible for not only destroying the Republic and uplifting the Empire, destroying the Jedi Order, creating an entire clone army in secret, starting multiple major conflicts, assassinating his political opponents, manipulating dozens of people into doing effectively whatever he wanted, but also completely destroyed everything throughout the entirety of the Republic and crafted a brand new empire for him to rule.